my name is Alexander Breault, and this is my final project for HPR 108 on steganography detection. In order to start talking about steganography, one must first understand what it is. So, is it a free piece of software you can just download off the internet? Is it a tool that allows one to hide information in another file? Is it a highly useful tool? Or is it a potentially illegal tool? The answer to that? It's all the above. But how did it get to that stage? The answer to that is very simple. When studying steganography, one might ask, where did it all begin? What were the origins of steganography? The answer to that? It began with the Greeks. The name itself, steganography, comes from two words in the Greek language, steganos and graphiae, which, when put together, literally mean covered writing, a very apt description for what steganography is. The first known record of steganography was physical steganography, which is essentially hiding a message in something that is physical. As it began in the time of the ancient Greeks, that was pretty much all they could do, whereas now we have all these computers and all the things that we can hide steganography in. But the first records of steganography were instances where people would write messages on boards and then they would apply some sort of varnish or covering on it so that it would completely cover the message and then no one else could read it unless they knew that something was under the varnish. Other records like that would be you would tattoo a message on the back of your slave's head and then let the hair grow back. But there's obvious drawbacks to this. For instance, anybody could just randomly stumble across it, say the varnish wipes off or the hair doesn't grow back just the way you want it. The drawbacks that exist in physical steganography essentially don't exist in digital steganography, because digital steganography essentially comes in the form of a free program. You can just go online, you can download it, you can do with it as you will, and no one will ask any questions of you unless you get caught by the law, but that's an entirely different matter. It basically deals with files, folders, and images. And basically what it is you're hiding one file or folder inside of an image, but what it does is it deals with the data that comes in behind the files. And this is something that you can't do in physical steganography because you can't analyze every single pen stroke that a person makes, or you can't just nitpick at it until there's nothing left to understand anymore, because with the limited amount of technology that you would have, that the Greeks had while doing this, they just couldn't do that. So basically what it does is it takes, while you're looking at all the text on the screen, it takes all the data that comes in behind it, and it has to use that. There are many different methods to use steganography. One method would be the LSB steganography, or the least significant bit steganography. In my opinion, this is actually one of the easier forms of steganography to use, because basically what the program does is it takes the least significant bit of the file that you're hiding, and it takes the least significant bit of the file that is being hidden in, and it replaces the one that is being hidden in with the one that is being hidden. So it's basically it breaks it up into little amounts until it finally fits as much of the file as it can, or even all of the file if one of the files is big enough and the other one's small enough. Where the most trouble occurs with steganography doesn't actually come in its use, but it more or less comes in the detection of steganography, because there really aren't that many reliable methods to find steganography. But even though there's over 30 different types of software that you can use to help you detect steganography, there's no true method that will help you find it 100% of the time. For instance, there's one of the ones that was recommended to me. It was StegDetect by Niels Provost, and I'm just going to go there really quick. So it's basically what this is just one of the many forms that you can use in order to find steganography and everything. And if you read it, StegDetect is an automated tool for detecting steganographic contents in images. It is capable of detecting several different steganographic methods to embed hidden information in JPEG images. And currently it can detect JPEG, JP hide, invisible secrets, outguess, F5, appendix, and camouflage. And it does this through many different methods, through many complex math equations that would take a very long time to understand, and that I don't entirely have a total grasp on myself, because that's the sort of thing that the main researchers of steganography do. There are also programs which are used to look for steganography tools in computers. This is as opposed to just looking for files that have steganography in them, because what it is basically it just looks through the computer, and it just looks for tools that would allow a person to use steganography, so that you don't have to waste your time looking through images, whereas you can just determine whether or not they had used it in the past based on whether or not they have the capability on their computer. However, even to some of the most advanced steganography methods, there are ways to get around someone detecting whether or not you're hiding something inside a file. While one such method, it was told to me by Kevin Bryan, he works with the computer department at URI, it was you can encrypt a file before running it through steganography, and this makes it near impossible to find and to open up and see what's inside of it. Because basically what this is when you encrypt a file, it becomes complete gibberish unless you have the password. And when you run steganography through the image, you'd expect to find some other file that would pop up. But if you see gibberish beyond that, you're probably not going to be searching any farther than that, because you'll just be thinking, oh, it's just some random stuff that was encoded in there. Whereas you would actually, if you actually had the password, you'd be able to see whatever was in the file. And with a good password, it would be pretty much impossible to get through to what the file is unless you had some really good software in order to break it. But even then, there's certain passwords that would take just years and years, and it would just be such a waste of time for a person to try to get through to it. Now the question comes, is steganography legal or is it not legal? It's already been shown that you can completely hide a file and no one will ever find it for as long as they live if you do it right. So this would seem like something that only people would do if they were doing something highly illegal. But it turns out that steganography itself is actually legal. It's legal, it's a free program on the internet, and there's many useful things that you can do with it. For instance, you can store personal information on it. Like you could take your social security number, and if you keep forgetting it, you could store it on a computer, but you could do so in a way so that people would never know it's there. Like you could put it right on your desktop for the background, and people would never guess because they never know that you had hidden text inside that image. However, there's also many illegal ways that steganography can be used, and that's pretty much what makes the news most of the time. For instance, whereas you could hide the social security number that you keep forgetting, you could also be hiding stolen credit cards or child pornography or anything else that would turn out to be illegal. Terrorists have been known to use steganography in many cases. In a large recent case, actually had to do with, they found some Russian spies that are living in America, and they were using steganography to transmit messages back to Russia, but no one knew anything because they had such a great cover and because you don't suspect anything of them. But the thing about steganography is, as much as it seems like it would be a big problem, it's really not used all that much. Like you go through legal cases, and a lot of the stuff that you're going to be finding, it's going to be right on the person's hard drive, like pretty much in plain sight. So it doesn't really happen all that much. A more important question about steganography, besides whether or not it's legal or not, or at least in my opinion, is it a good tool or a bad one? And for me at least, I think that steganography is a very good tool, but it's sometimes used for bad intentions. And this can be true for anything. It's just like a gun. Like you can have a gun for protection, but that can also be used for bad intentions. And it's basically meant as a security mechanism, because you can just hide whatever you want in there, and it will take forever for people to find it. However, if they do find it, but they can't open it, it's still hiding something which arouses suspicion, but that can easily be explained and put off. So what have we learned about steganography? It's a very useful tool and a secure tool when it's used properly, and it provides a very hard time for those who are working to detect it, because as many different methods as there are always more being developed. But it's the matter of detection which is the main problem with steganography, because steganography is used for so much bad in the world as opposed to good, whereas you could hide most important information of your life, but people could just be using it for stolen credit cards and stuff and other illegal activities. For further information on steganography, there is a link at the bottom of this page, and it's www.ces.uri.edu and the rest of all that. And basically what that link is a website that I created which basically goes through what the presentation was about, but in greater detail. So you had the intro, origins, recent times, what's digital steganography, other methods, how to detect it, the legal boundaries of it, and conclusion. And then there's other sites at the bottom which can point you to more and more in-depth information. One which is actually really good is Wikipedia, because that has a lot of really good and actually accurate information. And now I'm going to give a little example as to how steganography actually works. Using a program called GIMP, you can see it right here, I created a file that pretty much just reads, this is an image. That's all you can see at the moment. And basically what it is, I saved it as a BMP file, and then I opened it up using another program called WinHip, which is Windows Hide in Picture. Both programs are ones that we used in class for HPR 108. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to insert a file into this image. I'm going to take assignment 0. I'm going to make the password hello. Confirm the password right here. Alrighty then. So I did that. And this will show up anywhere on the computer, just as you see it on the screen. I can open up in here, go to pictures, and it's all you're going to get. All you're going to see is the exact same file that I have, because all I did was add another file into it. And using steganography, you're not supposed to see too much of a change. Like if I looked very, very, very closely, I would probably still not find any sort of change in the file. But since I still have this open, I'm going to take it, and now I'm going to extract the file from it. So I'm putting the password, hello, okay. I'm going to save it as assignment 0 pres, save, and then I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to my documents, I'm going to open this up, I'm going to use Microsoft Word because I know that's what the file is from, and there's the assignment for you. It's my entire assignment. It's the homework that I actually turned in a few days ago for HPR 108. You can see my honors colloquium paper. You can see my forensic sciences seminar paper. So basically, that's just a little example of how steganography works. Like I could hide whatever I wanted inside this image, and people would be none the wiser as to what is actually inside of it. Now, you may wonder why I didn't use some sort of steganography detecting software in order to show you how that would actually work, instead of just using WinHip to put the file in and then take the file out once again. But the reason for that is that most steganography detecting softwares are either pretty difficult to obtain and then use properly, or they're very expensive, and it ranges through like hundreds of dollars in order to get a license for it. In any case, I hope you found this presentation very informative, and if you're looking for any more information, please go back to the link that was on the last slide that I had, and then follow the other links around. There's plenty of information on the internet about steganography and how to detect it, even if you can't immediately get your hands on the software. Anyways, this is Alexander Breault's final project for HPR 108. Thank you very much.